Bungie announced in May 2020 that it would introduce a max power level, or weapon sunsetting, with the Beyond Light release. The final season of Year 3, Season of Arrivals, introduced weapons that are now assigned a max power level, with weapons from Seasons 1 through 8 being maxed at 1060. Max power level also applies to armor. Some weapons and armor are already being reissued with max power levels up to 1360. The great debate among the Destiny community is whether sunsetting will be good for the game or bad. In this video, I comment on points raised by Cactus HD and MTashed in their point counterpoint video. Will sunsetting kill or save Destiny 2?
What's sunsetting?
All right, now, what a good question for our viewers who might be new to what's going on. Now, sunsetting is essentially the process of, well, it's a lot of the game going away, but again, we're specifically focusing on weapons and armor. Essentially, weapons and armor within Destiny 2 that have come from seasons past, so the Shadowkeep expansion, and beyond that especially, they are not going to be able to have their light levels infused above the current season of Arrivals. So
right.
You can use them now in the end game, in the raids, all of that stuff, but if you want to use them in Beyond Light, in those endgame activities in the new raid, you're going to be at a substantial disadvantage. It's a great idea, because all you do is complain about balance, and they're finally taking out all the unbalanced stuff in the game. Like, what do you want? In any event, like, mountaintop is everywhere in PvE as well, so there needs to be meta shakeups in that part of the game too.
Fair. Now, we've seen almost sunsetting because they do, like, balance changes.
Before we go forward, I want to point something out. So no one asks, why is mountaintop everywhere? They just assume it's a power issue. It's not power. Mountaintop isn't everywhere because, oh, hey, it one-shots people. And it doesn't. I've proven that many times. I've gotten direct hits on people in Crucible and didn't even take all their shields off. There's other factors involved that protect you against the mountaintop. And I'm sorry, but if you don't want to use resilience, that's on you. And I found that resilience actually does help me out in Crucible and Grandmaster Nightfalls. Big time. To where I've started using resilience. Whereas I used to always ignore it and I'd get one shot by shit, Crucible and PvE. But maybe, and I don't know where I got this idea from, maybe myself, but those of us who can't use snipers because of, I don't know, trackball mice or not being able to see things as well because we're older, reflexes, reaction time. Oh, and they nerfed our hand cannons. So now it's just a shotgun sniper game, which it's been for 2 fucking years. Shotguns and snipers, both of which are OP and one-shot people. Maybe we found in Mountaintop a solution to countering these weapons. No one ever says, what is the real reason you're using Mountaintop? Most of us aren't using it because it one-shots people, because it doesn't. And Bastion! Oh my god, Bastion's stupid. And I think I would argue, I mean, Bastion, if you think about how powerful it is, most people don't use it because it's just not a fun gun. That's my assumption. Most people still aren't using it. But when you get that one guy who's using Bastion, oh my god, people start whining and bitching, and it's like, well, why aren't you using Bastion? No, really, why aren't you using Bastion? Oh, it's not the right gun for you? Gotcha. That's why I don't use sniper rifles and shotguns. Also, the shotgun sniper rifle thing, if we're going to get into reaction time, dude, Crucible cannot be a professional game because of how it's set up. The reaction time thing is kind of bullshit when you look at all the connection issues they have. There's so much lag in the game. That's why I don't play momentum control. I would die before I even saw the person who shot me. So it's when your connection is crap, and I'm not saying my personal connection, but something between me and the other people I connect with, and this happens to everybody who plays Crucible, the connections are shit. So reaction time is not always you. And when I worked on my Jade Rabbit Catalyst, I was killing people after I died because there was so much lag in the game. It was crazy. You put Bastion on once and you got hate mail. You were telling your mate you were trying to bait a bag. It only took one game. Right? And, but, again, if you don't like going against a Bastion person, play Bastion. But you know what, Skim? I think what it really comes down to is people want to play the game their way, and they don't like people who force them to play a different way. We all get pissed off when we're forced to play a way we don't want to play. But you know what? I used to hate grenade launchers. I had no desire to ever have... I mean, I wanted mountaintop because I'm a completionist, so I went and earned it. I had no idea mountaintop would actually become a part of my loadout. I thought I was going to get the gun and put it away like I did with the Revoker. I think Revoker is trash. I don't use snipers in PvP though, guys. I'm a PvEer, and there are other sniper rifles that I'd much rather have than Revoker. Like, that thing is trash from a PvE perspective. I used it a little bit. I went back to Aikilos and Soul Survivor. Those are my favorites. Big time. Your experience with Bastion is that you still have to charge it up and predict where to shoot. It's less TTK than any shotgun and sniper. So what you're saying is it requires map awareness, skill, and good timing. You know what? So does Mountaintop. Like, you gotta know where you're gonna be shooting shit. But, yeah. So, remember, guys. Cactus is playing pro-sunsetting, and MTash is playing anti-sunsetting. These are the roles that they've agreed to play for this video, even though neither one is completely for or against. They both understand the pros and cons, and they've both talked about it in their videos. But yeah, the one thing I hate about debates when they talk about a problem is that people never actually ask, what is the real reason people do this? And so we've discussed the real reason behind using Mountaintop here. Yeah, and there's a list of problems that we talked about here. So it's not because Mountaintop is OP, because a lot of these guys who don't use Mountaintop, they break it out and they're going to do well because they're good players. But if they really dominated, if they really wanted to get people to the lighthouse constantly and they thought Mountaintop was really that great of a gun, they would use Mountaintop. They're basically earning money to take people to the lighthouse. Like, come on. Aren't you going to do what it takes?
Like, they essentially make a weapon archetype obsolete, or they make one super, super strong.
There's no such thing as subtle within Bungie.
No, exactly.
It's either overpowered or useless.
So is there not a way that we can maybe, subtly change these things so we can still use them?
Everyone complains. Like, when they nerf Recluse, all you did was cry about how, long you had to spend getting the Recluse.
Right.
And then now it's bad. And so people get very upset when they nerf these guns. So sunsetting is kind of a way to, hey, it can still retain that power. Mm-hmm. You can still use that weapon in, quick play, in strikes.
So I had a guy give me that argument. He's like, I'm really pro sunsetting because I only use 3 weapons in the game. And I'm happy that Bungie is going to make me use different weapons. And I just kind of looked at that guy, and I thought he was the most weak-minded I've ever seen in my life. I guess kind of isn't really the word I should use since I made a very emphatic statement. Grow up. If you don't want to use the same 3 weapons, go look in your vault for a different loadout. Go learn about the weapon perks on other weapons. You guys see that while I use a specific loadout for the most part in endgame content, I switch it up. You see me use a lot of different weapons. And I want the option. I would actually vary my loadouts a lot more if I had more vault space, so it wasn't such a chore to try to move stuff around. I would love to diversify my builds more, but Bungie has kind of shackled me, because I'm always, instead of being a what gun should I use today thing, it's a, oh my god, how much time do I want to take trying to figure out how to move my weapons around because my vault's at 500 and my characters are full. Because they've given me 50 million armor sets and told me they're taking away all these raids next season. So I'm trying to save all this shit so I convert, you're part of the problem. Most of the Destiny community are not 14-hour-a-day Destiny players. When they nerf a gun, likely most people just barely got it. Yeah, dude. Yes. Like, I got Recluse, Mountaintop, and Revoker the same week. because I spent several seasons getting them done, and then I finally got to Fabled during Season of Opulence. And what I was really pissed about, and this does piss me off, Bungie nerfs how hard it is to get something. So people don't really understand the value of getting a gun. And by making it easier to get a weapon, that's when it really, really becomes a problem in the community, because suddenly it's easier to get. So like Recluse, dude, all 3 of those weapons, I had to get to Fabled by winning games. If I lost a game, it took away rank from me. It doesn't do that anymore. When Shadowkeep came, they were like, okay, if you're not Fabled, you're not going to lose rank. That was what they did. And then suddenly people are like, people were complaining about Recluse anyway, but suddenly everybody had Recluse because all of a sudden all you had to do was get to Fabled. I think that was the only thing. Like, you didn't have to do anything. You just had to get to Fabled, right? Like, Recluse was easy to get if you played comp and you got good. But yeah, I actually had to win games and strategically use the weekly boost to get to Fabled. And like a couple weeks later, season reset happened, and my friend, who wasn't as dedicated as me or strategic about getting things done in the game, boom, had it, no problem. You know why? Because she didn't even have to be good to get to Fabled. There was no loss for playing comp. When you got Recluse, it was a crazy grind. Yeah, dude. And I'll admit, we cheesed Mountaintop because it was back when you could go into... people were farming for Imperials in Rumble. So, like, only 2 people in most of my games were actually playing. And then we'd message each other and be like, hey, I'm working on Mountaintop. You want to, get double kills together? So you'd partner up with that other real person, go stand next to a bot, and you'd switch off killing each other. That's how I got my double kills. But I kind of feel like that goes with Destiny. Like, they give you these insanely hard things to do, and you figure out how to do it. You figure out how to cheese it. I mean, come on. Part of the game is cheesing it. It makes us feel good. It's like getting 100 melee kills with my Titan, the Astacross strategy of going in as a solar Titan, and just... with 3 punches, I had 100 melees. And it was legit. They just counted as melees, just standing in my flame and letting Thrall run into me. It was crazy. That was Luna for you. Holy cow, that was a and I have to get my headshots, dude, with Luna's. Like, I made it to Legend this season. Now I have to go into comp. And I'm not looking forward to it because I don't have fun. I worked my ass off to get Luna's, and then come to find out I don't even like the gun. And they had nerfed it before I got it. Like, it stopped being a viable... Not only did they nerf Luna's, but it seems like most hand cannons are trash right now. Like, Spare is good, but again, going up against a sniper rifle or a shotgun ape, dude, hand cannons are tough. Like, they're good in conjunction with something, but it's not the hand cannon game it used to be. And I, because of like the Ace of Spades quest and all the stuff we did in year 2, I actually got good with hand cannons, and now I'm out of practice because of the shotgun apes. I kept dying to shotguns and snipes, and so I stopped using them. I went to Mountaintop. There you go. There's a reason right there that has nothing to do with the power of the weapon. It was just Mountaintop gave me a way to counter other people. And the other thing is, everyone talks about controller people having aim assist, like with those fucking sniper rifles. Dude, I'm using a trackball. So don't even give me shit for using Mountaintop. But we all have our different challenges. We're all using different hardware for different reasons. We're different ages, so we have different physiological problems that we're dealing with. Real balance, what Bungie should be doing is trying to make multiple archetypes viable. But right now you have 2 archetypes that are viable with a Mountaintop.
I just feel like right now, one of the reasons why everyone uses the Pinnacle weapons is because they are so cool and they are so strong, and they are stronger than everything else.
And they're fun.
But a lot of the perks and guns available are just boring. Clip an outlaw, multi-kill clip, feeding frenzy. It's always the same thing. You know what I mean?
You don't like reloading?
Or they remove the perks you like.
Yeah, and I feel like if they take away some of those cool weapons, what if they don't replace it? Because sometimes Bungie doesn't. They're not there, super creative with a lot of their perks. Like, oh wow, in-air accuracy, incredible. I'd rather chase really cool stuff and then get to keep it and use it than always be replacing it and running out of, guns.
I just had a thought that I want to share before we go forward. So people are always talking about, oh, well, they nerfed 150s and that ruined the entire archetype. But it's like, but they buffed 180s. Now everyone's using 180s. And I think where Bungie could start with balancing the game is to stop trying to make one RPM better than the other. They're trying to make one better than the other. Why aren't they trying to like take the 140s and the 150s and balance those in relation to each other? So like your hand cannons, because they play differently, but I think you would see more weapon use within an archetype. And this is a huge issue. People are favoring like 150s one season. Why are the rest of them shit? We have all these options in this one archetype, and they're all shit because this one little segment got a buff and everything else got nerfed. Like, if you want to talk about weapon balancing, try balancing within the archetype first. And they're not doing that. So that's a huge thing they could start with. And I got to thinking about that because of the whole auto rifle thing. Like, well, this, 600s are better or whatever. But, maybe that's where they need to start. Why is Recluse, why was it the only one that was worth playing and it wasn't? Why is the Aikilos SMG, why was that such trash until recently? And the answer is that they finally, with the random roll perks, and they put the right perks on it, you could actually, like, I personally fucking hated the Aikilos SMG. I was so disappointed when I got it and never used it. Well, I tested it, but I hated it. And now I was able to get a more customized SMG, one that was closer to what I liked, and I actually use it now, and I actually kind of have fun because I was able to get a barrel and a mag that made the gun fire closer to what I like. So it's not that weapons are trash, it's not necessarily that they don't do damage, but it's that they don't feel good. They just don't feel good, and that's where barrel and mag comes in. A lot of people ignore barrel and mag, and they go with like the damage perks, and it's like, dude, don't ignore barrel and mag because that'll make or break a weapon. You can have outlaw and kill clip on something, or outlaw and rampage. Outlaw and Rampage in year 2 when that was like the best combo ever, but if your barrel and mag was trash, like the Outlaw and Rampage don't mean anything. I'm a Monarch person when it comes to bows. It's my favorite bow of all time. And it was effective. I was able to actually be like, the cool thing about Le Monarch is when you get the perfect draw, you're gonna just spray poison all over everything, no matter what. You can shoot the middle of a Cabal shield and you're gonna poison that dude, even though it's not a headshot. But like, it's actually a great weapon to use for Gambit. And it's fun. It's fun! Oh my gosh, what a concept.
Really, Pinnacle weapons make all legendary weapons obsolete.
Fair.
It's like no legendary weapon out there is going to be as cracked as the mountaintop. In terms of a special, pretty much no legendary weapon is going to beat the Recluse in terms of a primary.
Recluse is no longer my favorite SMG. I use Bug Out Bag. Here's another thing though. When you have an energy weapon like Recluse, it is a void weapon. And one of the things Bungie could do in patrol zones even is, instead of just nerfing the whole frickin' thing, make shields actually matter, or like, yeah, make energy types actually matter. Like Arc, there's a year 1 Arc SMG that I like. And it's really good against Fallen. Because it's Arc, I learned Arc is good against Fallen. Just like Solar is good against Hive and Cabal and Taken. And then you've got Void for Vex and Taken. And they really, I think if Bungie played with the energy types more and put more emphasis on that, yeah, I don't use Recluse that much because, well, now my Gnawing Hunger is better for Void. But also, I found other energy types, like, oh, hey, I need Solar Shields. That made me want to use Bug Out Bag even more. But also, Bug Out Bag is an amazing SMG. It really is. It's got a lot of rounds in it. It's got really good range. And it reloads fast. So it's a really good option for clearing. It's an excellent SMG.
But Redrix is really unique, and it is really strong. And, when it is procced and it is working, it's incredible. But it's not like this brokenly overpowered thing where everyone's using Redrix. Is there a way we can start getting some Pinnacle weapons that are unique and they're valuable, kind of like an exotic, but they're not breaking the game?
I mean, Yeah, that's a good point. Like you are right. If Bungie could find a way to introduce pinnacles that were not necessarily just powerful, but that were unique and special and had niche roles,
Right.
yeah, that would be amazing, right? But they haven't. Exotics are naturally balanced in the fact that you can only use one. The fact that you can have like a whole loadout of pinnacles that are cracked out of their minds.
I feel like exotics aren't balanced right now. I feel like exotics actually are less powerful than they should be simply because you can't use mods for them, meaning you can't use like artifact mods. So if the anti-barrier weapons of choice are like, what was it, season 1 of Shadowkeep, if you wanted anti-barrier, I think you had to use an auto rifle or an SMG, something like that. So let's say the SMGs are the weapons that Bungie hand selected to be the gods for the season. Like this season, auto rifles. If you want anti-barrier, you need to use auto rifles, or I think like, I don't know, sidearms. They usually give you a good one and a bad one for like if you're talking endgame content. But like Teraba, let's say the SMGs are the anti-barriers for the season, and we've had SMG seasons. Teraba is useless because why would I do 2 SMGs? One has to be anti-barrier, and then you have one as an exotic for the hell of it. Why not allow me to use the anti-barrier mod for Teraba? Now, I think Bungie is experimenting with this because if you look at your artifact, I think it's column 4, you can see that there is a general pulse rifle overload. Or no, it's a pulse rifle unstoppable mod. And if you put it on your armor, any pulse rifle that you equip will be unstoppable. But again, it's just the unstoppable. It's not the anti-barrier. I have actually considered using Outbreak Perfected a couple times, but there's always something else that I want to use as an exotic. Anarchy. Anarchy is stupid. But if I went in using like Delirium, then I would consider using Outbreak. Or if I used Wendigo, I could consider using Outbreak. So maybe I will actually try that combo next time we have Unstoppables. I'll try like using like Wendigo with Outbreak. Wendigo is another great grenade launcher that I would totally recommend. Doomsday from Gambit, people don't talk about that, but and I think the reason why people don't talk about it is because most people don't play enough Gambit to get good rolls on Gambit weapons. But dude, all the Gambit weapons are good. They're all good. That if you want to talk about a good weapon season, that was it. The Black Armory weapons are amazing, but I think Gambit really beat Black Armory when it came to like the kind of weapons you got. Fortunately, Black Armory offered some different weapons, like, you know, god tier machine guns. So like, you had Delirium from the Season of the Drifter, whatever that was called, Joker's Wild or something like that. And then you had the Black Armory season, which offered Hammerhead, both of which are great. Now, I use the curated Hammerhead. I love that thing for PvP. But for PvE, I used them interchangeably. Like, it was situational. What kind of enemy am I going against? Am I going Void or Arc? And since I was using machine guns all the time, I was dying to get a solar machine gun I actually liked. I never liked any solar machine guns until we got the ritual weapon from the Vanguard, which is Edgewise, which is a super solid solar legendary machine gun. It fires smoothly, which is what I like about Delirium and Hammerhead. They're both smooth. You can get the job done. Now, Delirium, the other day when I was using that in one of my GM Nightfall runs, I was pulsing the trigger because I needed more precision shots because I was firing at a distance, but it's still way better than, like, I hate Thunderlord. I understand the benefit of Thunderlord, but I just don't like how the weapon feels. It's just too crappy for me. Avalanche, I feel like I spend more time reloading it than I actually spend shooting it. And that was like the solar machine gun for the longest time. And it's trash. And what I tried doing with Avalanche, I actually have 2 of them. I have the one that dropped from the Season of the Dawning, which is like supposedly like the roll. And then I was like trying to figure out how to make Avalanche good. And so I looked at Delirium and I looked at Hammerhead and I was like, okay, these are the perks on these two guns and these are the gold standards for how a machine gun feels. And so I used those to figure out what role I wanted on Avalanche. Still couldn't fix it. It's just, you need like a god tier reloader to even make that thing viable. I hate it. And yet people will still destroy people with it, like in Gambit. It's crazy.
Well, I know, and because it's always different for us, because like we're content creators that have a lot of time to play, and so it's just like, I don't want someone in my audience to quit the game because, oh, they took this away. And then they don't even give them something cool to replace it. Like, that's my biggest worry is, like, people put all these hours in to have these cracked weapons. And I know that maybe Mountaintop is OP or Recluse was OP. But then you take them away, and then it's like, here's your little sidearm. Like, okay, Bungie, woo.
Yeah, the ritual weapons.
Here we go.
So I think this is a huge issue with Destiny. So again, like, I have a collector's account. They were always like, hey, play the game you want to play. And a lot of people will go get weapons just so they can be strong in PvP. For me, I have a collector's account. I want to get everything. And for me, the joy is going out there and earning the weapons. And I love it when there's actually a quest. Like Whisper of the Worm was amazing. And I loved that I had to go back into the dungeon and do this little secret thing to activate the to be able to open the chest that would give me like the ship schematic. And it was also part of me. I had to go in 3 different weeks to complete the catalyst, to upgrade the catalyst. Like, that stuff is fun. You go in and you actually play the game to earn a weapon. You go in and you actually play the game to get a catalyst. Like, you make a concerted effort to play the game to upgrade the catalyst? What? Like, this is what made Destiny fun for me. And I feel like we've gotten further and further away from that with Shadowkeep. So with the Ritual and Pinnacle weapons, like, I think not having us grind for a weapon was one of the dumbest things they could have done. I don't like the whole get, 5,000 solar kills and strikes. Like, that's stupid. Like, have us do something a little bit more meaningful within strikes, and don't have it always focus on the strike playlist. Like, let us pick whatever strike we want to do, because your playlist is kind of trash, and it usually gives you the same strike over and over again, and the strike usually has nothing to do with the kind of enemy you're supposed to kill. Like, they have all these little things they need to fix to make earning things more enjoyable and effective. Like, Bungie doesn't have any respect for anyone's time, it seems like. But again, it goes back to earning weapons. The Pinnacle weapon quests, the Pinnacles, not the, I forgot what they're called all of a sudden. Not the other ones that they came out with in Shadowkeep. But the Pinnacles took some effort. Like, reset your rank in Gambit to get Delirium. And I think there were some other things in that triumph, but honestly, if you went and played Gambit, you would have gotten those things done anyway. But, like, people who are still getting Delirium always bring up the fact that they have to reset their rank, and I'm like, it's easy. Do your weekly bounties, go and grab your dailies, and then there's like 4 bounties at the bottom that you can grab for dailies that have nothing to do with Gambit, and just keep doing that, because you get rank from turning in bounties. And if you do that, you'll reset in a season easily. Like, I've gotten 3 season resets, no problem. I think I've had 2 so far this season, and I've been not really doing a lot of Gambit. I've been trying to avoid it. I feel like Bungie is reducing the value of getting great weapons by turning it into more of a... I've been talking about Diablo a lot lately because there's a lot Diablo does right. But if, when we go in and we do like greater rifts, we get so much trash that we just delete. But Diablo rewards you with things for that trash that you need. Like when we were playing with Urs a couple weeks ago, he was like, I need whites. Whites are the lowest form of anything you can get in Diablo. Whites. And he needed whites because the whites broke down into a crafting material that he just didn't have enough of. So there was still value in getting these super crappy items. And Destiny doesn't do that. As far as Glimmer goes, you get Glimmer for everything. You can go buy Glimmer from Spider, which I appreciate. I feel like I wouldn't be so hung up on Glimmer if they would they need to take the caps off of resources. Like, come on. I should be able to have 500,000 Glimmer if I play the game enough. But they've Okay, a good example from Diablo is I was making the Staff of Herding. I had to go farm for 4 crafting. Well, I could buy 1 crafting material. I had to farm for the other 3. Some are easier to get than others. And then I had to go farm for the recipe. And I got that pretty easily this season. But once you get all 5 components, you can then craft your staff, and then it takes you to crazy rainbow land whenever you use it. And Destiny could learn from that. Like, we had some weapon quests like that for exotics. We should do a lot more weapon quests like that. Like, there was one where I can't remember if it was a weapon quest or if it was access to something like the barge in Season of Opulence, but we had to go to different law sectors and find things. And I thought that was so much fun. And that's the kind of stuff Bungie should be doing. Don't just give me stupid weapon drops for completing the Vex offensive. That's boring.
If you don't have a ton of time to play, you have a direct path to one of the best weapons in the game in the Pinnacle weapons.
Yeah,
right?
you can go after
I
it,
know,
yeah.
like, hey, I want to play some PvP, I need a good weapon, I'll go get Luna's Hell. Maybe not so much now, but back in the day it was like, alright, I've got a hand cannon, and, I can hunt down the Recluse for PvE, and there's these different weapons that you could chase down, and you had a direct way to get, a really, really good roll. So it felt valuable for your time.
Make those exotics, it would, first of all, nerf them in a way, because you can only use 1 exotic. So are you going to give up your slot to the mountaintop?
I think the real question, guys, is for those of you who played Destiny 1, do you feel that sunsetting in Destiny 1 was good for the game? Did it improve gameplay for you? Did it make things replayable? Did it diversify the weapons you used, or did you just go to the next meta? Which, honestly, we're switching metas almost every season anyway, depending on the artifact. And the overbalance, the over-nerfing or over-buffing of archetypes in Destiny, which is one of the biggest issues. They over-buff and over-nerf all the time.